Really excited to have the opportunity to introduce the WCU Poetry Center's Fall 2022 Poet in Residence, Dr. Annie Finch. She's here with us for the month of October, and she has been giving a lecture series called The Magic of Meter. And today the lecture is The Meter of Water. So without further ado, you guys ready for a treat? It is Meter of Water Day.
Hi, I'm Annie Finch, and this is lecture 4 of the Finch Lectures on Prosody, otherwise called Meter and Magic at Westchester University in the fall of 2022. And today's lecture is called The Healing of Meter, the healing power of meter and the meter of water. So during these lectures, I've been talking about poetic meter, how it works, and also about a diversity of different meters. Most of us, if we are aware of meter at all nowadays, we only know one meter, which is iambic pentameter. Maybe some of you have heard of that one. Shakespeare, Milton, Tennyson, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? This is usually the only meter anybody knows anymore. So what we're doing here this month is really important because we are opening up a world of different meters. There are many meters in English. We're talking this month about the 5 most important ones. And today we've already talked about the meters of, and if you look at your handout, you have your definition sheet. You can see, let's see, a foot. The fourth definition, foot, a rhythmical pattern of syllables, usually 2 or 3 syllables long. The basic feet in English that we've been talking about during the series are the one that goes like that, the anapest, the iamb, and the trochee. And today we're talking about this one, the dactyl. Okay, this may be mysterious to you. What are these squiggles? The last one, tomorrow, we'll be talking about the final one, the antibrac. So these squiggles represent rhythmic patterns in words which create, in my opinion, the most powerful magic of poetry. And the reason that poetry is still respected, still considered something rather special in our culture. You must have seen this around, right? People will say, oh, that person is a poet of the basketball court or whatever. And it means they're like amazing, you can't even put it into words. And do you ever wonder, what is it about poetry that's supposed to be so darn special that, you call this great player, was LeBron James a basketball player? I think so. That he's a poet or whatever, or that, the greatest cake in the world is called like the poetry of cake. It's because meter is special, and meter is characteristic of poetry. It's not just because poetry is like an imaginative way to say things. Like people can be imaginative in their letters or their novels or their stories. So poetry isn't just being imaginative. I know that your teacher just assigned to you something about poetry is not. Well, people love to talk about what poetry is and what poetry is not. In my opinion, the reason they talk about it all the time is because they're skirting around the real issue, which is that poetry is actually, traditionally, always, and I believe going forward, about meter. It is about meter. This is the only thing in poetry that is unique to poetry. Other genres don't have it. You can say poetry is original thinking, or it's metaphors, or it's being expressive or sincere about your feelings. Well, you can do that in a letter, all of those things. But meter is the one thing that only poetry does. And if you talk to the person on the street and you say, what's poetry? They'll be like, they still think it's something that rhymes. And usually rhyme goes along with meter. So when people say it rhymes, they usually mean it has meter. Okay, what is meter? It's on your sheet. Meter is a way to strengthen language's rhythm by shaping it into recognizable patterns. So these are some of these recognizable patterns. And we talked about these in the other lecture, so I'm just going to briefly go over them. This one, bum, 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 the anapest. We use these marks to show a strong syllable, a heavy syllable, and this one to show a softer, quieter syllable. And that's how we scan. Scan is another word on your sheet, which is to mark the rhythms of language. So for example, does anybody have a poem that you remember, or a line from a song even, that you think probably has a regular beat to it? Probably, if you remember something, it's probably in poetry. I mean, it's probably in meter, because meter is designed for the human memory. It's designed to speak to our body, and through our body to our memory. So when you take a metrical piece of language, your body kind of connects with it. And that's how it gets into you in a very deep way in your body. That's very different from the way other words get into you. So do you have any words that kind of stick in your head? Sometimes it could be like an advertising slogan, it could be a line from a song, it could be a poem you learned when you were a kid. But, yeah.
When I was younger, my mom used to read a poem to me, and it says, "Why worry? All along the wide long road, behold the talkative stand from one end to another."
Wow, can you say that again, please? Why worry?
Why worry? All along the wide long road, behold the talkative stand from one end to another.
Why
In your
worry?
presence, you are praised by the ones who seems to love you the most. By the time you turn your back and go, they will soon talk of you. So why worry?
By the time you turn your back and go, they will soon talk of you, so why worry?
Yes.
Wow, that's just beautiful. I want to hear the whole thing again. Was it why worry? All along the
Wide long road,
why
all along the wide
wide
long road,
wide long road. Why worry? All along the wide long road.
behold the talkative
Behold the talkative
stand from one end to another.
stand from one end to another.
Yes, in your presence, you are praised by the ones who seems to love you.
In
the
your
most.
presence, you are praised by the ones who seem to love you the most.
Yes. By the time you turn your back and go, they will soon talk of you.
By the time you turn your back and go, they will soon talk of you, so why worry? They're going to talk about you anyway, no matter what you do.
Yes.
That's a great one.
Thank you.
That's a great one. Thank you. Okay, by the time you turn your back and go, they will soon talk of you, so why worry? Do you hear that regular rhythm? By the time you turn your back and go, they will soon talk of you, so why worry? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. By the time you turn your back and go, they will soon talk of you, so why worry? So that has a regular rhythm to it. That makes it easy to remember. And what a richness. This is oral culture. This is the culture that's passed on from speaking through the generations. Little phrases we might have, a stitch in time saves 9, something like that. There's a rhyme to it, there's a rhythm to it. And these rhythmic aspects make it part of something that's very human, very creates human strong bonds. So, does anyone have another example? Anything you'd like to share? Something that came down to you? Anything? So, I'm just going to give you a quick overview. This is kind of a review for those who've seen the other lectures of the way that meter and scansion works, and then we're going to talk about this particular rhythm for today, which is the meter of water, the meter of the heart, the meter of the emotion. And then I'm going to share with you some amazing experiences that I've had involving meter and emotion, and particularly healing, the way we can heal from some of our very difficult experiences, maybe from childhood, by using the power of rhythm. It's a remarkable thing that you can do once you become aware of rhythm and how it works. So these marks here are used simply to notice what's going on. They don't create the rhythm, but they mark it, they acknowledge it, they recognize it, and they allow us to perceive it better. So let's take a poem from your sheet. The first one, let's start with the first one. This one is mine. Women have voices it's time to believe in. Okay? Let's just take this line. Women have voices it's time to believe in. I wrote this for a political meeting of the Maine Women's Political Caucus. And it was commissioned as a speech for the political caucus, but a lot of other women have found it useful to remind us that our voices do matter. Women have voices it's time to believe in. Brave women's words, spoken out clear and steady, move us through generous ways of achieving. Women have voices it's time to believe in, braining sweet worlds. This grave, loving weaving is singing our lives back, and women are ready. Women have voices. It's time to believe in brave women's words, spoken out clear and steady. So, when we say this poem, there's a rhythm to it, right? Do you hear the regularity of the rhythm? Women have voices it's time to believe in. We hear it. How can we really understand what's really happening? We use a process called scansion. And scansion has 3 steps. Step 1 is the wands. That means you mark the strongest syllables. So in this case, which would be the strongest syllables you hear in the line? Voices is definitely one. Voices is actually 2 syllables, right? Voices, so we're talking the first one, which is voice. That's the strongest syllable in the whole line, isn't it? Women have voices it's time to believe in. So why is that the strongest syllable? What makes it the strongest? You guess? Why is that stronger than the others? Why does it pop out? It's heavier, okay. And by heavier, what does that mean exactly? Is it louder, maybe? That sound right? By heavier, do you mean louder? Do you mean?
I would like quite a rhythm.
Yeah.
Put a lot of pressure.
Pressure on it. Well, the pressure is created, built up through the rhythm, right? But the pressure itself, like you recognize the pressure, like when I say, like, what's your name, for example? Maggie, okay. So when we hear the name Maggie, which of the syllables gets more pressure? It's a good word for it. Pressure, accent, stress. Is it the first syllable or the second? What's the last one? Let's say it all together, okay? Let's say the name Maggie all together. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, the first one.
The first one. When you say it together, you can always tell. With Mag, right? And if you want to double check if you're right or wrong, is it Maggie or Maggie? One is going to sound okay, but a little funny because you're exaggerating. The other is going to sound like, oh no, that's wrong. So you can always tell by exaggerating one or the other. So what we're doing here, you might notice that some people hear it more as loudness. Like when we say Maggie, the Mag is louder, it's longer, and higher pitched. It could be any combination of those things. So if you don't hear it louder, it might just be that you're hearing longer or higher pitched. It could be any of those things. But that one is a stronger syllable. It has more pressure. Okay, so voices. Voice clearly is a very strong one. Now, remember, we don't have to have it, it doesn't have to be like the biggest syllable in the world. It only has to be bigger than the ones around it. That's a really important principle, like it's relative, the principle of relative stress. So what are the other ones that are bigger than the others around them?
I had a question.
Yeah.
It depends on the writer, right? Like the way the writer wrote it, because if I'm reading it, I'm not the one who wrote the poem.
Yeah,
It
well,
would be difficult to know.
that's an interesting point. There's actually 3 kinds of stress that are created. So one of them is called lexical stress. That means if you look it up in the dictionary, levels of stress, okay? If you look it up in the dictionary, in the lexicon, it will give you, for instance, the word women. On the word women, which syllable is the stronger one? Let's say it all together, okay? 1, 2, 3.
Weary.
Okay, what syllable is stronger? Somebody who hasn't spoken yet. The first one, okay. And if you look it up in the dictionary, it's a 2-syllable word. It will tell you that women, that the first syllable is stronger than the second. And this is the word, this is the symbol we use for a softer syllable, this one. This is for the big ones, this is for the little ones. So eventually we're going to put that little cup on it to show that's the softer syllable. So the dictionary will tell you that. That's lexical stress. Nobody can change that, right? If you change that, you're just wrong. So that level is set in stone. Then there's another level, which is the phrasal. Now this is where the individual poet, as we were saying, what's your name?
Miracle.
Miracle. As Miracle was saying, the individual poet can change the stress by the way you manipulate the line. So for example, women have voices, it's time to believe in. The way I put this line together, I actually put more emphasis on time. You know, I gave that a stronger syllable by the phrase I put it in. If I said, women have, let's see, women's time voices, for example. If I put it over here, it doesn't make sense, but that's okay. It's okay to write nonsense when you're learning this stuff, or even when you're not. I love meter because it sort of opens a door to nonsense and to exploration and play. But women's time voices, you see there, it wouldn't be as strong as it is here because of how the rhythm fits. Women's time voices, because it would be between the win and the void. The time would actually be softer. But over here, it's between its and to, and it's in a place where it gets more pressure, right? So that's phrasal. I put it in that place where the phrase, the sentence, to get the sentence, how the sentence is put together gives it more emphasis, right? So that's called phrasal, and the poet has complete control over that, like you said. So there's that. And then the third level is called performative. And that means that there's kind of an invitation as you're reading the poem aloud, you can stress it really hard if you want to when you're performing it. So certain syllables can be stressed through performance only, which can be really cool. So like if you're reading this aloud and you want to say, women have voices it's time to believe in, not, people of other genders, only women have voices. Or if you want to say women have voices it's time to believe in, maybe not the rest of us, the rest of women, but at least their voices. So you can perform it to create a different meaning by the way you emphasize, right? So this is sort of the level of how much control the poet has. In the lexical, you can't really control it, that's in the dictionary. So that's just what we're talking about here. So there's that, levels of stress, an important point. So let's go back to scanning. What we're learning right now is how to scan, how to mark the rhythm of a line so that we can see what the meter is. Okay. So women have voices. We have one on whim. We had one on voice, I think. We got one on time. Are there any others that you hear when you hear this line? Let's say the line together 3 times. And just notice if there are any other places where there should be a wand. I call these a wand and a cup. That's partly because I'm a witch and I'm into tarot and stuff like that, and so it's the wands and the cups from tarot. And by that I mean that I'm a sort of magical maker. I'm not like a witch in a bad way. I'm just like somebody who cares about the magic of daily life and the magic of cleaning your own power. So many people want to know what that means. But so wands and cups, and then there's a third one called image. I-M-A-G-E. It's called edge. E-D-J-E, and it's the edges between the repeating patterns. So where else do we want to put a wand? Let's say this line together 3 times and notice where is there a wand missing. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Women have voices, it's time to believe in. Women have voices, it's time to believe in. Women have voices, it's time to believe in.
What other syllables should have a wand on them? They're louder, they're longer, or they're higher pitched. Right? Believe, yes, the second syllable of believe. And this is a word sometimes people get confused. Is it believe or believe? Because they're both stressed. But if you get confused, remember there's this great little trick. You can just reverse the exaggeration, or you can pretend you're shouting across the room to somebody. It's called the shout across the room method. It's in my book of Poet's Craft, which if you want to learn more about this, you can check out this book of Poet's Craft. But this is a great method invented by Jessica Piazza, a young poet. And it's imagine saying the word to a friend across the room. Believe, believe. Which way sounds right? Clearly it's on believe part, right? So, okay, women have voices, it's time to believe it. I think that's about it. So we have, these over here. 1 cup edge, okay. So now the next step, step 1, when you're scanning is you mark the wands. Step 2, you mark the cups, you mark the other syllables. Okay, so where are we going to put our cups? On the other syllables that don't have a wand. These will be the softer syllables. So tell me where to put them. Women have voices.
Have.
Yep. The other one? What was this where?
In and
In, okay, yep.
Two.
So you said 2, yep. Okay. Another one, you? Do you see one place we should put a cup? I don't want to put you on the spot. Just. You say, I'm sorry, what was that? Win?
And men and women.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yep, thank you. What about you?
It's the have,
You said where?
the have.
Have. Okay, yeah, we have one on have.
So,
What would be the next one?
yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I can't read it that well.
Yeah, the end, I know.
Yeah.
The end of voices, exactly. Women have voices, okay. And what's the next one? We're missing one.
It's
Yes, it's. Okay? I think we've got them all. So we have, remember these are called wands. We have 1 cup, cup, 1 cup, cup, 1 cup. Oh, there's one syllable that has nothing on it. This one here, so what's this one gonna get? Believe?
at the end.
Yeah, it's gonna get a cup on the first one, right? Is this what do you agree?
yeah.
Cup. Right? Okay. So this gives us a very regular pattern, right? 1 cup, cup, 1 cup, cup, 1 cup, cup, 1 cup, cup. And that's the way it sounds when you say it aloud, right? Women have voices, it's time to believe them. Except there's one little difference. And we'll see what that difference is in a minute. Okay, so the third step is to look for patterns and mark with edges. I'm repeating that for you so you can write it down because I know it's hard to read. Number 3, look for patterns and mark for edges, mark the edges. So you're basically looking for a repeating pattern. So in this case, we have 1 cup, cup, 1 cup, cup, 1 cup, cup, 1 cup. So what are the, where did you see something repeating? Anytime we see something repeating, we're gonna mark a line, a straight line right down through it so we can distinguish one repetition from the next. Do you wanna take a shot at it?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Is it between like the woman and have, like the
Yes, exactly. Because here we have 1 cup cup and then we have another 1 cup cup. So we're just marking them. And these are called feet, which is really fun because they're like little footsteps. It's like, and in fact, when you go back to ancient Greece, they would actually use footsteps to go with their poetry. So if they were performing this on stage in ancient Greece, they would be like, women have voices, it's time to believe it. They would literally move their feet as they were moving along the stage and reciting this poetry. So they're called feet. And it's like one foot, another foot. Okay, so where's the next one gonna go? After the next one, cup, cup, right? So where would that be?
Is it between 2 and believe?
Yes, well, actually, when, between 2 and B?
Yeah.
So we have 1 cup, cup, time to be leaded. If you're gonna do it after 1 cup, cup, is that right? Or would it be after 2 cups?
Would it be between it's and time?
But yes, exactly, it's in time, right? 1 cup, cup, 1 cup, cup. And it's harder because it's, I think you got one that was on 2 lines, so it's trickier. Okay, so 1 cup, cup, and 1 cup, cup, where's the next one? Where's the next one gonna go? The next time you see 1 cup, cup. Do you wanna give it a shot?
We go, like which line?
Just where, like, between which syllables? And you can do this on your sheet. The reason these are all double spaced, taking up more paper, is to give you space so you can do this on your own copy. And you can, you know, it's good when you're writing poetry in meter, if you go on to do this, always to double space it while you're figuring out the meter, make sure it's right, so you have space to double check. This is a useful tool not only for reading poetry, but also for writing poetry, because when you learn how to scan it, then you can tell the music of your poetry and you can notice if something is different, you can go back and fix it. And why do you want to do that? Why does it matter to have a consistent rhythmic music in poems? What's the advantage? Yeah.
Make sure your poem flows and the reader's not confused or like out of the ordinary, like not following along with it.
Yeah, very well put. To make sure your poem flows and the reader's not confused and can follow along with it. This is actually called the metrical contract. And when a poet starts to write in meter, they're like making a contract with the reader, right? I will hold up my end of the bargain. I'm going to keep that rhythm going for you in a regular way. And the reader's like, okay, I'm going to trust you. And this is where the healing comes in, which is our bigger theme for today, the theme of healing. Once you establish that kind of trust between the meter of the poem and the reader, you're allowing and inviting the reader to open up their heart. So this particular meter is a meter of the heart in my experience. I have a tattoo on my arm. I have the 5 different colors on here. There's one for each meter. And the other lectures we talked about the meter of fire, which is the will, the meter of air, which is the mind, that's the red and the yellow. Then we talked last night, I gave a lecture on the meter of earth. You can watch all these lectures, by the way. The meter of earth is the green one, that's the meter of the body. And then today, this meter, the meter of water, is the meter of the heart. I think this is an especially powerful meter to open up people's hearts. So when you write poetry in this meter, you are using a powerful tool that if your reader is going to trust you and trust the flow, that they're not going to get confused, that they can just kind of relax. It's like a baby being rocked, right? It's like the baby, when you rock the baby, you're making a contract to the baby that you're going to just keep rocking them in a regular way. It's okay to relax. I'm not going to mess up the rhythm. You might change it a little bit, but not in a way that destroys it, just to stretch it out a little bit. So in the same way, it's like the reader is your baby at that point. You have their trust and you're rocking them. And as you rock them, you open them up just to be more open to your poems and to share your heart with you. And this particular rhythm, 1 cup, cup, 1 cup, cup, 1 cup, cup, I feel is especially powerful. This is the rhythm that was used by the great heroic poets, the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Aeneid, all these great ancient epics are in this rhythm. And this was the rhythm that really kind of opened up a lot of the beginning of Western civilization, actually. So, it's a powerful tool that can be used for incredible, cool purposes. So, all right, so time to believe in. So where's this next one gonna go? Did you tell me?
No, I think on the end of Believe.
Yeah, right before it, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we have, okay, we have, in terms of feet, how many feet do we have? I'm sorry, I won't fit all on one line, but how many feet, between these edges, how many are there? How many do you see? Women have voices, it's time to believe in.
4.
Yeah, 4, but one's different, right? Which is the different one?
Different one is the last one.
The last one is different, it's missing a cup, right? So there's a special way we can mark that. And this is once you start into the variations, it gets really fun. You mark it by putting little parentheses around the cup. That shows that you know it should be there, but it's not, it's missing. So this is one of those little variations, like when you're rocking the baby and you like give them a little shake. You don't break the rhythm entirely, but you change it a little bit, just to keep things more alive, or to remind them that, to remind them to be aware and to enjoy it, sort of. So, okay, women have voices, it's time to believe in, and it's like a little pause. So that's what that parentheses mean. In my book, Poet's Craft, I call it a ghost cup, because it's like a cup that you think is there, but it really isn't. And you can also use the same thing for, sometimes there's a missing cup at the beginning, when you're dealing with other readers. So let's look at some of the great poems on your sheet. You have a lot of wonderful examples of poems in this exact same rhythm, the dactylic rhythm it's called. And by the way, the reason it's called the dactylic rhythm is because of your finger. Does anybody think of any other words that have the word dactyl in them? Can you think of any other words that include dactyl? Yeah.
Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl, okay. Okay, so the pterodactyl is a dinosaur, right? It descended from, they think it's the ancestor of birds. And ptero means feather in ancient Greek, and dactyl means finger. So pterodactyl was actually feathered finger, a feathered fingered dinosaur. And the reason that this is called a dactyl has to do with the nature of ancient Greek meter. Ancient Greek meter was actually not like about loud stresses and like we have here, but it was more about longer syllables. So it might be women have voices, it's time, it would sound more like that, whereas in English we go, women have voices, it's time to believe in, but it would be more like just the length. Women have voices, but I think actually there's some late research that shows that may not be true, but they may have used accent the way we did too. Some scholars now think this stuff is always evolving, very exciting. But anyway, the main point of it is that like your finger, they had a long, short, short, where we might call it one cup, meaning stressed, unstressed. They're calling it long, short, short. So your finger also has a long and then 2 shorts, if you look at the phalanges, and that's where the word dactyl comes from for this foot. Some people more than others, but that's the principle. So, okay, so let's look at some of these great poems in this rhythm here. It's Patricia Smith, Up on the Roof. This is a recent poem. It's from her book Blood Dazzler, which was about the terrible flooding back away as Hurricane Katrina. And just an incredible poem. And I'm proud to say that she wrote this as part of her master's thesis in poetry, and I was her advisor, and I helped her to write this wonderful poem. So, do we have a volunteer to read a few of the lines? We don't have time to read every line of each poem, but I want to read a couple of them aloud. Anybody want to read it aloud? Do you? Just read like the first 2 stanzas for us.
Up on the roof, stumbling slick step, you wave all your sheets and your blouses, towels, bandanas, and denim, and etch what you ask on the morning. Keep going. When are they coming to save us? Cause sinking is all that you're feeling. Blades spin so close to your breathing. Their noise, crazy roar, eats invective, blotting out words as you scream them. They turn your beseeching to vapor. Water as a dark hue of anger now laps at the feet
Thank you. Amazing writing, right? I have to say, Patricia was one of the most, the quickest people that I've ever taught. And I believe it's because Patricia Smith had a long and extremely amazing career in slam and performance poetry. So her ear was really, really, really well tuned. So by the time she came to work with me on meter, she was like, I want to learn this stuff. And she just like dove right in, and she already had the sensitive ear, so she was able to just pick it up really well. And it's amazing what she's done with meter. But out of these wonderful 6 lines here, why do I say they're wonderful? It's because she's using the meter in a way that is exactly right. She's not messing it up, but yet she's also constantly pushing it and stretching it and giving it a new original kind of life. So this is the beauty of meter, is that it gives you something to work with. When I was a kid, I grew up hearing poetry in meter, kind of like your mom used to tell you Miracle as saying. My parents used to read poems aloud that were poems in meter, so I grew up loving the sound of meter. And then in 7th grade, my teacher said, if you're a real poet, you don't write meter. Real poets only write free verse. This is still, kind of out there in the atmosphere. And so I believed my teacher, and I stopped writing meter. I only wrote free verse for about 10 years. I got really lost and kind of miserable because I finally figured out I need meter, like I needed it. And I think some poets actually need it. I'm just a person who's all over the place, and meter kind of gives me that kind of center and space, and I also just think it feels really, really good. So, I needed it, but the thing that made me realize I needed it was when I looked at a free verse. I had to write a free verse poem about something or other. I'm looking at a blank piece of paper, and I would feel so lonely, like incredibly lonely. Like it's just my brain, my words, the empty page. I couldn't stand it anymore. And when I started to write meter, it was like I had somebody to dance with. I had a friend. Like the meter was my friend. It was like keeping me company. It was playing with me. It was challenging me. It just made it so much more fun. So I started, when I started teaching it to student after student after student, and I just had so much fun sharing this information because a lot of us, most of us, don't even know it anymore. We've never had a chance to learn it. If we do know meter, we think it's all iambic pentameter, and if these other meters are just, people still love, like to hear Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, or Dr. Seuss, which are in other meters, not iambic, but normally serious poets have forgotten them. So to reawaken this has been a great joy for me. It's amazing. So she is dancing with the meter here. Water, the dark hue of anger, now laps at the feet you can't stand on. Water, the dark hue of anger, now laps at the feet you can't stand on. Water, the dark hue of anger. Let's scan this line. Let's scan it just the way we scanned the other one. Where would you put the ones? Where are the strongest syllables? The first syllable of water, right? What, okay? What? Water, the dark hue of anger. Yes?
The first syllable of dark.
Yeah, dark is a 1-syllable word, and that gets one. Water, the dark hue of anger, now laps at the feet you can't stand on. Yeah?
Anger, I think.
Anger, which syllable?
Second one.
Okay, let's say anger together 3 times. Or no, try the other one. Let's shout anger across the room to your friend. Imagine in that corner there's your friend. And shout the word. Shout it 2 ways, with the emphasis on the first syllable or the second.
Anger. Anger.
Okay, now if it's still confusing, now exaggerate the difference even more. So you're whispering the little one and shouting the big one.
Anger.
You're very brave. I respect you. Keep going.
Anger.
Yeah, anger. Okay, is it anger or anger? Like if you're just hearing it from far away, anger. Which one would it be? It's ang, right? Yeah, it's gonna be anger as opposed to anger. Because then you just hear the gur, and you're like, well, that could be a lot of things. But when you're in the ang, it's the more important syllable, right? So yeah, so it's gonna be ang. But you are absolutely right, there is one on that word. When there's a 2-syllable word or more, there's gonna be a stress on it. It may not be a big stress, but there's always a stress, and here it's a big stress. So we have what, dark, ang. What are the next ones? Water, the dark hue of anger. Now laps at the feet you can't stand on.
Feet.
Feet, that gets one for sure. Okay, another one? Yep.
Laps.
Laps, yep. And there's one more. Stands. You all got it, absolutely. What, dark, ang, laps, feet, stands. So in the other syllables, we're gonna put cups. Now you might get to a syllable that you're like, wow, is that really a cup? Because it might seem a little stronger than it should. Did anybody get to a syllable like that? If you put a cup on all the other syllables, which is the syllable that might seem a little, I don't know, is this really a cup? Maybe it seems stronger?
I think it followed the rhythm pretty well.
Okay, they pretty well, right? Feet you can't stand on. Yeah, can't would be maybe, maybe not, yeah. That one could be, some people might say can't, and that could even be a performative utterance. We talked about performative utterance before, performative stress. Water, the dark hue of anger, now laps at the feet you can't stand on. You could put more on can't just to emphasize the meaning. So when you get to a place like that where you're really not sure if it is a wand or a cup, you can use this other symbol, which is a half wand, which is a wand that faces the other direction, backwards. We also have a ghost cup. Remember that one? We had a ghost cup, and this is called a half wand. So the half wand points the other direction. Yeah?
Will the pressure on can't change if you say cannot? Will it change the pressure?
It would change the pressure. The feet you cannot stay. Yeah, it would. We would also add another syllable. Water, the dark hue of anger now laps at the feet you cannot stand on. I think it would probably weaken the rhythm that she's got going, right? But yeah, it would change it though. It would cannot. What about hue? The word hue. That's a pretty strong noun, a pretty strong word. Some people might want to put a half one, a backwards one on hue as well. So you can do that. But this is what I mean by, it's with the word can't and maybe the word hue, and then all the complexity she's got with the syntax. It's a very strong and beautiful line. And she's using this rhythm to talk about something extremely painful, right? And it's a poem of compassion. Look at the last stanza. Some people think that you're crazy as you descend from the heavens. You choose to head for the questions, the earth and its water, the swallow. Now here's something interesting. In the last line, something that only meter allows you to do. If you're writing free verse, you cannot do this. In that last line, you choose to head for the questions. Do you see how the meter pretty much invites you, if not forces you, to put a wand on the you? As you descend from the heavens, you choose to head for the questions. Because she has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. She's had 14 lines already that begin with this one, a strong stress. It's a dactylic poem. She has built up an expectation that every single line is going to start with a stress. So then when she puts the word you there, she's kind of making us say the you. She's making us perform it in a certain way, which gives it a meaning, like you choose to head for the questions because you are a powerful person, and not everybody's like you, but you are like that. So she's actually forcing us, in a free verse poem, I cannot think of any way that you can actually make somebody stress the word you in a sentence, you choose to head for the questions. A lot of people would just say, you choose to head for the questions. but it's you choose to answer the questions. Only meter can literally make you perform it in your head that way, which is one of the many great things about meter, but probably one of the top 5 great things about meter is that it can make your reader hear it in a certain way. So it's like, it's almost like a magic capsule that allows the poet's voice to get into the reader's mouth. It's not even like watching a video where you watch the reader perform and you're like, okay, that's how the poet said it. It's literally putting the poet's voice into your mouth. And we can read a poem that's 1,000 years old that does that exact thing. And we talked about this in the other lectures as well. But the thing that I really want to get to today is the way that meter can heal us. So I hope I've given you enough of a recap in this discussion of scansion, of how meter works, how scansion works, and the power that meter has. And I encourage you to watch the other videos as well, so that you can learn more about this part. But today the real point is the heart, the opening of the heart that meter can do, and how this particular meter does it maybe especially. This beautiful long poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Evangeline, which has been called the great American epic. One thing I love about this epic, and notice he chose this poem, Evangeline, is a book-length poem. I encourage you to read it. It's a great read. I taught it to freshmen who love this poem. It's a love story. It's a story of a woman who loves this man, and she travels all around America trying to find him. He's disappeared from her, and she travels along, and she finally finds him at the end. It's very tragic. I won't tell you at the end what happens, but it might be a spoiler, but it's a tearjerker. And this is one that people used to memorize this poem all through the 19th century. And he chose for this epic the meter of the Odyssey and the Iliad. This is the forest primeval, the murmuring pines and the hemlocks, about the Acadian people who were displaced. They were from France originally, they migrated to Canada, then they were kicked out, they had to travel around. This is the story of one woman in that group who lost her lover in the tragedy. But it's a meter of the heart that he chose for this poem. June Jordan's wonderful poem about Phyllis Wheatley, the very early poet in America, gorgeous poem. Trembling asthmatic, alone on the slave block, built by a savagery, traveling by carriage, viewed like a species of fawn and livestock, a child without safety of mother or marriage. Again, a poem about compassion for Phyllis Wheatley. These are wonderful poems. All of these. Paul Laurence Dunbar, Ode for Memorial Day. A public poem, yet one that he chose a very private meter of the heart for. Thomas Hardy's love poem, Cillian Plath, wonderful poem about mushrooms. And even this, I think they're all poems of the heart, very much. So the thing about meter is that it is pre-verbal, right? And yet it is verbal. So it bridges this mysterious place between the words in our brains, that monkey mind. If you ever know, they talk about monkey mind, your brain always thinking and talking, distracting you from life, and distracting you from the moment. And then there's the body, the spirit, the heart, where we're actually present in the moment, right? And meter, because meter combines words and rhythm, it brings together these things that are usually warring with each other, right? The thinking of our minds and the feeling of our hearts and of our spirits and of our bodies. So it has the capacity to heal us by bringing these things together. It also has the capacity to hurt us if we're not in control of it. And I'm going to experiment with something for the next little while of this class. This is a workshop that I've developed, working with people who are in the process of healing from their past traumas, right? And when you go back, maybe you think about your childhood or sometime in your life that you experienced a really bad trauma. Maybe when somebody said something to you that hurt you in your heart. There's Can you remember a time like that where there were words that someone said to you and they hurt you in your heart? Okay, I'd like to ask you to write those words down now. Just write down that phrase that hurt you, those words that hurt you. It could be a very short phrase. Maybe it was a long experience, but maybe there's just one little kernel, just a little thing somebody said that really got into you and made you hurt. Does everybody have something like that now? Okay. How long is your phrase? How many words? 5 words. Mine is 5 words too. Yeah. 5? Okay. All right. 3. Okay.
3 words.
Right.
3 words.
3 words. Okay. All right. So they're usually short, right? Interesting, isn't it? How such a short little phrase can just stick with you for so long and it hurts so bad. So I'm going to ask you now to look at the rhythm of that phrase using the tools that we've just been talking about. The scanning, the attention to the rhythm of it, because I have a feeling that it's not just the meaning of the words that hurts. There's something about the rhythm of it that hurts. That's what gets your body remembers the rhythm of it, not just the meaning of the words. Your body remembers the rhythm. So let's try this. See if you can scan it the same way we just scanned the poetry. And if it's really short, you could repeat it a couple of times and scan it a few times. So we're doing the scanning in the 3 exact same steps we've used already. First the wands, then the cups, and then see if there's a pattern that repeats, and you can use the edges. And if there's no pattern that repeats, because it's so short, if it's only a couple words, you could just repeat it a few times and see what the repeating rhythm might be. So wands. And when you're done with your wands, just please hold up your writing utensil, your pen or whatever, so we can all see that you're done putting your wands in. Okay, bring your hand. Okay. Okay. And I do this to remind us that we're not alone. Look, everybody has something, right? Everybody has a wound that came through the words. Okay, so we're not alone. Okay, so we have our wands. Okay, now your cups. Just write down your cups. And you will never have to share this if you don't want to, but you'll have a chance if you want to share it, and we should have a few minutes to talk about it. And when you're done with your cups, hold up your pen, okay? And when you're done with that, now you look and see, is there a regular rhythm to it? Is there a repeating rhythm? And if you see a repeating rhythm, you put the edges in. Every time you see a repeating pattern, like mine is a cup 1, cup 1, cup 1, maybe you have 1 cup, or 1 cup, cup. But is there anything that repeats? And if anybody wants my input on this part, I'm happy to come around. Just raise your hand and I'm happy to look at it and help you to scan it if you want. So the reason we're scanning it is so we can hear the rhythm better, and the reason we want to hear the rhythm better is so we can use that rhythm to heal it, hopefully once and for all. Maybe you have an extra syllable or two, like bump, 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 or something like that. But you should be able to then get a sense of the rhythm of it. It may have like a little extra syllable here and there. You can put parentheses around the extra syllable if you want. Like the one I just looked at went like this. It was, this was the pattern of the one I just looked at. So what we did was we decided to break it up like that and then just put a little thing there just to remind you. And that way you see the regularity of the pattern, right? So the goal is to get a handle on the regularity of the pattern, because that's one of the ways that it hurt you, was that it used the power of meter to hurt us, to insult us, to get into our bodies, into our hearts, not just talking to us mentally, logically, but getting us in a deeper place where it's hard to dislodge, right? So now, okay, here's the amazing part. The next step is to take that exact rhythm and use that rhythm to write your own lines where it's syllable by syllable exactly the same, okay? So you take your own line and you follow the pattern exactly. So it could be the same poem, and it's your choice. Like for this one, if you wanted to, I would suggest including this extra little syllable there, even though it varies the pattern a little bit. Bum, 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 bum. Just stick with that. Or the one that I looked at over there for a miracle was bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. So just do that. Just do that exact rhythm. And then I want you to keep writing the rhythm, right? Start with the phrase that hurt you. And then write more and more and more lines. You could write about remembering the experience. You could write about how it made you feel. You could write nonsense. It can be nonsense. Your goal is to gain control of this rhythm, to get a handle on it, and then eventually to use that rhythm to write something that makes you feel good, that makes you feel strong, that makes you feel loved, that gives you your body back and your heart back and your soul back. Where that rhythm won't ever be able to hurt you anymore because you're not going to associate that rhythm with that phrase anymore. You're going to heal that rhythm. You're going to heal that rhythm forever, and you can do it now. You have the tools to do it. So let's see if you can just keep going. 3 lines, 4 lines, whatever you want to do. And kind of like that soup to nuts game, where you take the word soup and you have to turn it into the word nuts step by step. Just keep going. See if you can turn this original wounding phrase into something that makes you feel really, really good, like an affirmation that you want to put on your wall in the same exact rhythm. And if something bad comes into your mind, just say the bad thing. Don't try to censor yourself. Okay, just write the reality, let the bad feelings come out. You can start by using the voice of the person that hurt you. Just say more things in their voice, but eventually you'll have an opportunity to turn it around. When that opportunity comes, take it. So don't lie to yourself. Let the bad stuff come out. That's important for your heart. Did it work? So, I know we only have a couple of minutes left. This is something you can obviously do on your own anytime, but let's see. Okay, go and see life outside the world. That's a good stuff. Yeah. Go and see life outside the world. Oh, it's close. So it really helps to say it aloud. If you say the original phrase aloud, once you've scanned it and kind of have a sense of the rhythm, say it aloud, it'll be easier. Does anyone want to share your experience? This is a tool that you may want to return to, especially if you have more time to think about scansion and to get a little more familiar with your ears, hearing the rhythms. But you want to share yours? Yeah, okay. Does anyone? Yep.
Year of the coming of age for coming to full born, running to take apart my life. The unknown one is as we count when it leaves into the world.
Thank
Or
you.
grow apart. Sorry.
Thank you. Cool. George?
I'm a lawyer and I'm very slow, though. I'm not a courtroom
Okay.
lawyer. I had to go to court. And I'm so slow, the judge asked, is he on drugs or what? Which is a very
Is he on drugs or what? Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
it's like, is he on drugs or what? And so, and who was I that day in courtroom bright and cold? The court reporter types, the judge adjudged me drunk, like Peter John at 9 a.m. No spirit came to save me, though. A lawyer has to have no heart or having lose.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's a good start. Huh. I'll share mine.
And it helps.
Which
Just-
was,
it did help.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'll share mine as an example. Mine was, you wicked, wicked girl. You wicked, wicked girl, you are the nasty one. I hate you so much. Wow, you never will be clean. But now I turn around, I find that I am free, I love the way I am, I know that I can be the beauty and the love I need to finally see around me every day. This is a life for me. So it turns from wicked, wicked girl to this is a life for me. And the main thing to remember is don't try to force it into something it's not. Just let the bad stuff come out and let the other stuff follow. And that our goal is naturally to heal. We want to heal, every part of us wants to heal, so it's just all you need is a little invitation. You don't have to carry the bad stuff around. So I encourage you to go back to this when you have more time and see if it works. Thank you so much.